too. I gotta watch my screen. It is Thursday, yes. And hopefully we have people joining us. I know it's a beautiful Tuesday or Thursday here in Calgary. Beautiful Thursday. It's been a busy week. Yeah. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about working with Cuddle. We kind of got started on Tuesday. We'll let some more people join us and before we kind of dive into what I have to show you today, and we'll see if we can come up with something exciting. So I've worked in fabric stores for a lot of years. We used to cut a lot of fun fur as well. And I tested this with Cuddle. When we were cutting our Cuddle last time, I was practicing and I could cut really tiny little strips like this with that X-Acto blade and not with my rotary cutter, and I got no fuzz. And I thought, I wonder, so if you ever want to amuse the kids, cut yourself a little piece of fun fur or Cuddle. I put eyes on mine, and you can make little worms, and if you stroke them just the right way, they kind of raise up and wave at you. Yeah, it's a silly little thing, but you know, you have to be old like me or very, very young to be amused like this way. So yeah, it's a fun little thing. It's what we do with these fuzzy fabrics. One of the things that we do with these wonderful fuzzy fabrics. So let's see, working with Cuddle Part 2. Let's see if we can actually find comments today. Michelle is here. Hi, Carol. Rosalie's here. Sandy's here. Hi, everybody. I am so glad to see comments popping up because I don't want to miss them. Before we get started today, Dawn discovered something amazing when she was getting out our Cuddle kits for our backdrop for today's session. She found this little guy. Now it's still all bundled up. He's a little hard to see. And apparently we only have one of these. So if you are interested, you want to give the girls up at the front a heads up right away. And this is a Cuddle blanket and book. So you have in this kit, you have the makings of a cute little baby size Cuddle blanket, as well as a book. And you can see just even in the bundle here how it's labeled front cover. So a cute, cute, cute little Cuddle book with a story in it. And I was just kind of flipping through some of the instructions here, and it says, try this. Make your book more interesting by adding crinkle material to each page. Babies love the noise it makes. So do cats, actually. Yeah. So that was an amazing find. And in our Cuddle kits, so that might be a particularly cute little thing to make for Christmas gift for a new baby, or even for a slightly older one. But remember, just one of these guys. If you're interested, give the girls up front a quick phone call and we will set it aside for you. So, working with Cuddle Part 2. Last time, as I say, we figured out how to cut Cuddle without getting all that fuzzy stuff all in our noses. And I am just still blown away with cutting the Cuddle with that X-Acto blade. That has got to be the slickest trick I have learned in a long time. So now we have our pieces of Cuddle cut. This is what we did last time, our little 12-inch squares. I'm going to make a little cushion out of this, actually. And now we want to sew our Cuddle together. And the thing that we like the most about Cuddle, its softness, its smooth, slippery kind of a feel to it, is also what makes it a little bit challenging to sew. So a few tips before we dive right into this. You want to have a good sewing machine. with, I'm going to switch feeds here so you can see, with a walking foot. Cuddle can be very, very slippery when you try to sew it, and there's nothing more frustrating than getting to the end of that seam and discovering that the top piece of your fabric is 2 inches past the bottom piece because it has slid with the pressure of your regular presser foot. So this is the Brother 3050. We still have some in stock. It's a great, great machine, and it is, I'm running the, it's called the Move It foot on this. It's a kind of a second generation walking foot. A standard walking foot on a different brand of sewing machine is going to work pretty much the same way. You're going to want to use, I'll pop them there so you can have a little look. You're going to want to use some jersey needles or needles specifically designed for knit fabrics because Cuddle is on a knit backing. And the information that I had from the Shannon people did recommend a 90-14, a slightly larger needle for sewing on the Cuddle. And the other thing that they suggested you do as far as your machine setup goes is use a longer than average stitch length. So I've set mine to 3.5 millimeters. That's what they recommended. It's like working with any knit. You don't want a really tight thread around the edges. So how are we going to sew this? Now Tyler has got this set up beautifully. I'm going to try and give this machine just a move back out of the way. Ooh, what a sound. So that I can hopefully get this into camera range for you. Part of the trick, let's move blue down like that. See what we've got for feed. That's not too bad. That's pretty good. Part of the trick I discovered with sewing this way is pinning. And I know as a quilter, sometimes we pin, but we don't pin a lot. So they use these flat flower head pins, and they're nice and long, so they're going to take a good bite out of your fabric. And you're going to pin your seam, start at one corner, match up the second corner, like that. Now it's not going to go anywhere in between. And you're going to pin very close together. Flower head pins are nice because they're easy to hang on to. You can use other pins like this. I'm going to pin this side, and you can see I've taken my Sharpie here and I have made a couple of little marks on the backing. That's because I'm going to turn this piece into a cushion. So I'm going to leave this area open so that I can stuff it. And I'll show you a little trick on that guy. So we've got that pinned. I'm going to go out to the corner. This is holding quite nicely. Round to the third side. I hope I have no pins. I'm pretty sure. So let's start at the corner. There we go. And I'm going to stick another one right here. There we are. And on the last side. So we're kind of keeping the fullness towards the center, and we're really focusing on lining up those edges. There we go. Okay, so there. That has a little bit of give. Now, the trick that I learned, I could just dive into sewing, but I may still get some slippage, is what they called double pinning. So I'm going to come in about, what's that, about an inch? And I am going to put a second row of pins all the way around. On a small piece like this, not quite as important, but if you're making a cuddle blanket from one of our kits, you are going to want to definitely stabilize that cuddle. You don't want it moving on you. So I rated my pin cushions over in the long arm area, so I'm getting a little short on pins. So what I will do as I sew the first couple of sides is I will shift some of those pins to that fourth side. So there we are. We've got our two pieces securely pinned together. So now I can move that or slide my machine back into place. Oh, that looks pretty good as far as vision goes. You can see what I'm doing. And we're going to get ready and stitch this. So you can see how I put pins vertically on my two marking spots. I am going to start, instead of starting here, take this pin out, move it over to my fourth side. Ouch, lots of pins. And I am going to stitch about 1 inch in. And it's going to make almost like a little tube. But that is going to make it so much easier to stitch that area closed when I've finished my project and I've got my stuffing in and that sort of thing. That seam allowance is just going to turn in almost on its own. So drop my presser foot, and I am going to start quite slowly. There we go. And I may even back up a little. There we go. And this machine has got that wonderful pivot feature. That means when I take my foot off the foot pedal, that presser foot lifts enough that I can pivot my fabric comfortably. Now, I am, as you can see, taking a wider than usual. I'm going to use my fancy pointer. I'm sewing, it's about a 1/2 inch seam. I'm actually just using the edge of this foot as a guide. You'll find your cuddle tends to lie much flatter if you give it a wider seam like that. It's a bit thicker fabric, so you don't want a lot of lump, a lot of bumpiness in your seams. So we're going to go right out to the corner. And the other thing they suggested you, just to give yourself a nice smooth corner, is to take a couple of stitches on the diagonal as you turn the corner. There we go. So I can take out these pins. There we are. I'm going to stick a couple of these in my fourth side as my second row of pins. Perfect. There we go. And you can see I'm leaving that inner row of pins in place until I finish the sewing. Because they're a flower head pin, my foot can go right over them without any issue. Come to my corner, couple stitches, 1, 2, 3. 3 is good too. You can see what a nice job this Move It foot on the Brothers sewing machines makes of sewing these slippery knit fabrics. And you want to just try not to force anything. Just let the fabric relax. And even with everything we do for this, we still might get a little bit of unevenness at our corners, at our edges. You can tell by the feel where that edge is. I'm about 1/4 inch out. So I'm going to go to here. 1, 2. There we go. That's another reason for using a larger than average seam, is you don't have to worry about missing. Okay. Now that pin, I'm just going to back it out a touch. There we are. And I am going to aim for my Sharpie mark there. Carefully remove the pin. And if you haven't practiced with your sewing machine enough that you can literally stitch single stitches just by controlling the presser foot, it's time to have a wonderful sewing day and just sit down with some scrap fabric and play. There we go. So we have gone all the way around. I'm going to use the thread cutter. Woo! Don't make you dizzy. There we are. So now I have that secured. I can remove these inner pins. If this was a cuddle on cuddle blanket, which is how a lot of our kits are designed, it's going to be plenty soft and warm, even without a batting in it. So we take our pins out. Now, one thing I did not bring, let's see what supplies are kicking around here. Nope. So what, we'll use my little snips. You may want to trim the corners of this blanket or this, whatever you're making. This is going to be a little cushion. These work fairly well. It's just about reducing the bulk. Gives you a little bit pointier corner. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and number 4. Okay. So we've got this all sewn together. I have my little opening here. So now I can set about and turn this. And it's so soft and so easy to push. I've got a big enough opening. I can literally get my hand into it. Ooh, like that. If you have, uh-oh, there goes my camera. Everybody who joins us on a regular basis is used to the fact that that camera has to have a little nap every once in a while. So, okay. But if you have a smaller opening, you can't get your hand through it, or you really want to tuck those corners out nicely, my go-to turner, don't tell the boss, is an old chopstick. And this one happens to be painted black and has gold glitter on the end because I used it as a magic quilting wand one year on Halloween. But I keep it around because it is great. That blunt end, you can put lots of force on it and you don't have to worry about it poking through. And especially with a knit fabric like this, something that is really sharp has the tendency to push through that backing a little too much. So you're going to tuck that out nicely like this. Tuck this out there like that. And now I can take my little cushion, and I will actually, maybe we'll show it to you next time, put some stuffing in that, and then that wee opening there, I am just going to hand stitch that closed and make myself a cute little cuddle cushion to cuddle with, because who doesn't need a cuddle cushion? If this was a blanket that I was working on, if this was large enough to be used as a little cuddle throw, then what you might want to do is run some top stitching, just kind of that 1/2 inch seam depth in all the way around. Now if you look closely, I'm going to switch cameras here. When we sew any fur fabric, quite often the nap, the fuzz, the pile on the fabric can get caught in our stitching line. Now, in this instance, that's not too bad, but if you're sewing, say, strips for one of our cuddle kits and you're making a blanket, you might not like that look. All you have to do is take your finger or a soft brush and just kind of tickle it a little bit. And that fuzz, that nap, the fur pile will pop right out. So we don't have to worry about that being a flattened seam line. That cuddle just fluffs right out of there. So if this was a blanket, I can open that out. Now you can see how that seam has almost disappeared just by teasing it. Compare it to this side. It's not bad the way it is, but if I give it a little bit of a tickle with my finger, now that is smoothed right out there. So that is the cover for our little cuddle cushion. So what happens though if we have, I'm going to use my other little sample piece. Maybe we want to do a bigger blanket and we actually want to quilt it. The thing about quilting cuddle, and again, it has to do with its slipperiness. It's soft and slippery on the front surface, but it is also slippery on the back side. So they're it's a beautiful fabric to quilt, and a lot of blankets, you can have the cuddle on the back side and a pieced cotton on the top. No problem. I quilt them all the time. The trick with that is you're going to take your backing your cuddle, your quilt top first. Get it all nicely pressed. Now your cotton quilt top is going to cling to your quilt batting. No problem. We're used to that. All the quilts we make, it doesn't shift around. The trouble is your batting is going to slide on your cuddle. Cuddle, fireside, anything like that with that polyester knit backside surface, your batting is going to slide on that. So whether you're quilting it on a long arm, you want to quilt it at home on your sewing machine, you have to deal with that slipperiness. And the easiest thing that I have found to do is you get your cuddle backing, you get it laid out, and you use 505 basting spray to lightly stick your quilt batting to your backing fabric. And then you can lay out the top of your quilt as usual. So that's if you're using cuddle as a backing fabric. If you have cuddle on the backing and cuddle on the top, whether you are using a quilt bat in between or not, if you're going to be quilting across it, it's probably a good idea to put a little bit of 505 between the layers just to hold it from sliding around, because it can be really slippery. So who's up for quilting with cuddle now? The other nice thing that you can use the product for, and I know we've got some samples out on the floor, is stuffies. Why not make some stuffies out of this? I made my husband a cat once because he wanted a cat, and I'm not feeding no more critters. We've had our share. So he has his little cuddle cap. You can also make something like this out of the yard goods. Make a little extra pocket in it for a rice bag or a microwavable bag that you prepare out of muslin that you can warm up. Tuck it in the little pocket. Now you have something that is both soft, tactile. Cuddle is very tactile. We just love to stroke it. And warm for those days when things are getting a little bit a little bit cooler out. We're starting to get some cooler nights. I did that actually last year for the granddaughters. We asked them what they wanted for Christmas, and they wanted, oh, I forget what they called them, but it was a microwavable pellet bag that they could warm up before they went to bed and tuck it down in the bottom of the bed for their feet, to keep their feet warm. So I got some of the llama cuddle and made little bags for those microwavable tubes for them so that they could have something soft to rest their toes on. So that's our fun with Cuddle. If you have any questions about using Cuddle, by all means, stop by the store. If you're interested in anything, we still have, let me see, no, we're into September. Sandy's making the final draw for our Summer of Savings weekly prizes tomorrow on Facebook. And I think just into next week, we will be doing the grand prize draw for our brother's sewing machines. So hopefully you had the opportunity to participate in that one. Leah and Anne should be back next week. I'm not sure what they're going to talk about on Facebook, but I'm pretty sure they're going to come up with something absolutely amazing for you. So enjoy working with Cuddle. It's not as hard as you think it is. And I'm going to go stuff my little cuddle cushion and have something to snuggle with. I think it's kind of cute. Maybe I'll put a button in the center with that little textured look. So that's about all I have for you. Not too much for announcements right now. We're kind of in a lull before we get going with fall classes. We do have some fall classes coming up. And stay tuned for all of the wonderful new things. And pop in and check out our new fabrics. Oh my goodness, poor Pat. She's like got this wall of boxes around her. And it's just bolt after bolt after bolt of really, really cute stuff. We actually got a bolt. I think a customer said yesterday that that's actually sad, but it is really cute fabric. It has little kitty cat faces on it, and they're all wearing masks. So that's how long we've been doing that, folks. Kind of sad, but kind of cute anyways. Until I see you next time, have a great day, have a great week, and stay calm, stay kind, stay safe, and enjoy sewing. Thanks for joining us, everyone.